Tonight's talk is really about the question of the week in the dojo, which is, what is a quick decision that you've made that changed your whole life? And the first things that come to mind for me, and I'm sure for most of you, are all of the bad decisions that we've made too quickly. And there's a reason why patience is the first way of becoming great at martial arts, because patience is a virtue and it will solve many, many of our problems. And I came up with a few bad decisions that I made quickly. One of my favorite ones is a story that my mom was actually there for, and she remembers this story differently, but I'm going to tell it the way that I remember it, if you don't mind. So I'm in Paris, France at 8 years old, and we are in the metro on the way to see Napoleon's tomb. And this is the first time I've ever been in a subway, I'm pretty sure, and I don't know what's going on. I'm like in my Mickey Mouse sweatshirt, and we're pulling up, yeah, I was 8 years old, I said that. And we're pulling up to the next stop, and my mom says, all right, the next stop is our stop. And I thought she meant this stop that we were pulling up to. So the doors open and people are going in and out of the train. And at the last second, I jump out and the doors close behind me. And my whole family is in the train. And I am out on the platform, thank you. I don't travel much in subways. And I'm looking and the train is pulling away. And I'm like, and my mom is doing something like this, which I'm thinking she wants me to jump back on the train, but she really meant like stay there. And I was just like scared to death. I'm in a foreign country, 8 years old, in a subway station by myself. And of course, 5 seconds later, some American woman walks up to me and says, oh, are you lost? Do you speak English? And I was so afraid, I just said, no. and I went over and sat down on a chair and waited, and they came back. You know, they were back in 10, 20 minutes. But that was a scary thing for me, and I'm pretty sure that in that moment, like when I decided to jump out of the train, that was the first quick decision that I made. I also made another quick decision in that moment, which was like, I can't trust anybody. My mom just told me the next stop was it, and I was by myself in a Paris train station at 8 years old. And like, I made that mean all kinds of stuff that I probably still carry with me today. And I'm a pretty well-adjusted person, as my mom will attest to. But we do stuff like that all the time. And you don't even have to be 8 years old to make stupid decisions like that. We make stupid, rash decisions every day. But then I started thinking, like, the next level, wait a minute, but there are also great decisions that we make very quickly. In fact, we have to be able to make decisions very quickly. And there are plenty of examples like that in our practice, where it's like you're sparring with somebody, and they're throwing a punch at you, and you better make a decision very quickly what you're going to do about that. And it could be block it hard, it could be step this way, it could be step that way, but you got to make a decision. And really, as long as you decide to do something, there's really no wrong decision. There is like not making a decision or just freaking out in the moment, and then there is responding well. And just moving. And you might move to the inside and say, oh, I moved the wrong way. You didn't get punched. It's success. And one of my favorite quotes from Karate Kid is when Miyagi is talking to Daniel-san about practicing karate. And Daniel-san is like waffling back and forth, am I going to practice or not? And Miyagi says, like, walk one side of road, okay. Walk other side of road, okay. Walk in the middle, squash like grape. And that is like constantly what we're faced with in practice, is this opportunity to choose. And as long as you choose something, you're usually going to be fine, because you have good partners. They're not going to punch you in the face. But I have a couple of quotes from what is a great and weird book, Hagakure, the Book of the Samurai. And this is from the blog that I'm writing for this month. The first quote is, "In the words of the ancients, one should make his decisions within the space of 7 breaths. If discrimination is long, it will spoil. When matters are done leisurely, 7 out of 10 will turn out badly. A warrior is a person who does things quickly." And I completely agree that to be a warrior, you must do things quickly, because they're not coming at you slowly, they're coming at you fast. And so it's one of the things that we condition in ourselves with our practice, is the ability to be decisive. And there's another level to this, because you want to be able to make a decision, but then you also have to be able to act on the decision. And this is really the part that I want to get into here. When I went to practice martial arts for the first time, I was a kid. That wasn't my decision. My parents signed me up, and that was fine. But when I came back as an adult, I knew right away. Like, I did the first class and I knew immediately, I want to do this, and I want to do this so badly that I'm going to be here every day. And I was still in school, and so I thought, I'm going to get even worse grades than I'm already getting if I start practicing right now. So I actually, in my mind, I immediately made the decision, I'm going to do this. And I did not sign up for 3 months. I just sat around. And it's hilarious because, as my mom will tell you, after I started martial arts, I actually got straight A's. So I should have just done it earlier. But 3 months I waited. And that's nothing. Because every month here, at least 1 or 2 people come in and they say, I've always wanted to do martial arts. I've wanted to do martial arts since I was a kid, and I never did it. And here I am. Is it too late? I'm already 40 years old. I'm already 50 years old. I'm already 60 years old. And I always tell them, no, it's not too late. And what took you so long? Why didn't you do it when you were 10 years old? Because you would be pretty good by now. You would have been doing it for 30 years. You'd be amazing. But that is what we do. Even though it's something that we know that we want to do, we've made the decision. We procrastinate, we make up, reasons why we can't, and we don't take action. And that's not what a martial artist does. It's not what a warrior does. But we're not all there yet. So sometimes you'll notice, you make a decision, and yet, what's going on, ma'am? Fly, okay. Technical difficulties. We make a decision, and you even know that it's the right decision. But then we just keep it up here. It never gets out of here into the real world. And sometimes it's because the decision that we made, like for me practicing martial arts, I think somewhere in the back of my mind I knew this is a big thing. This is going to change my life. And it's daunting. And a lot of times the decisions that we make are overwhelming. This thing that we know that we need to do. It's a project that's due, or it's getting in shape, or whatever it is that you decided that you're going to do. If you look at the whole thing, you think, this is impossible. This is an impossible undertaking. I don't think that I can actually do this. Or it's, I can do it, but I can't fathom how. And so the hardest step to take is the first step. And it's when somebody actually finally walks in the door and says, I'm here. I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know what it is that you guys do here, but I'm going to try. And I love that. And it is something that takes real courage sometimes to take something on that's totally new, that you're not comfortable with. But when you get faced with this overwhelming thing, it can be just confusing. I don't know what to do. I was talking to Catherine's son, Ian, in the lobby the other day, and he has a project that's due in school. Did he finish that thing yet, ma'am?
No, he hasn't.
When is it due? Tomorrow it's due. And he's had this thing for, I assume, at least a week or two, right? Probably a month, yeah. And so look, I feel for Ian because that's exactly what I used to do. You talk to my mom after. I don't know if she has anything for you because I didn't learn until I became an adult. But you look at the project and all you see is, oh my God, it's huge and I have no idea what to do right now. And I was talking to him and I said, like, are you a little bit nervous? Are you not sure that you can finish it? Like, do you know what to do? And he's like, yeah, I know what to do, but... And I said, you should start doing it right now. And I look over 30 seconds later and he's like walking out the door to like just look outside. And, you know, sometimes what it takes is you take out the paper and you put a pencil in your hand and you write your name on it. And like you've begun. That's it. You have to just take the first step and do the first thing. And running the dojo is no more simple than anything that happens out there in the real world. Like there's a ton of ridiculous junk that needs to happen in here. And thank God for Catherine, or most of it would not get done. But when faced with something, very often I just think like, okay, so what's the bare minimum, the absolute smallest thing that I can do right now? Because if I don't do at least something, it will just keep like getting pushed back and pushed back. So sometimes the first thing that I can do is just send an email to somebody. And I would just send an email and say, okay, let's get this thing started. And then it's on, it's begun. And then it's kind of out of my hands because then they email me back and then I do the things that they say that I need to do and we go and then it gets done. But it's like, sometimes Catherine knows we're in a meeting and I don't even want to talk about the thing that we have to do. I'm like, let's talk about that tomorrow. But if you just start, it's just start the conversation. Literally just open your mouth and words come out. It's begun. It's on. And so, same thing, like you're in class and you're trying to learn a form. You guys have seen people practice these forms. Maybe you're in Tai Chi and you've seen the whole 108 and you're like, how long is this supposed to take me to do? I mean, I don't have the rest of my life. Or some of you see, a yellow sash doing a form and you're thinking, that looks really great. I can't do that. And it literally starts with learning the opening ceremony of the form. It starts with doing the first technique. And then you just build on it. Same thing when you're learning combination in class. You start with the first technique and you get that right and then you build on it. So we have to be able to take this overwhelming thing and break it down into bite-sized chunks and just start. And just taking some kind of action gets it out of our head, out of the realm of I'm worried about this, I don't know what to do, what decision to make, whatever, and then just gets it out in the real world. And now it's something that you can actually play with. It's something that exists in reality. Another quote from Hagakure is, "There is surely nothing other than the single purpose of the present moment. A man's whole life is a succession of moment after moment. There will be nothing else to do and nothing else to pursue. Live being true to the single purpose of the moment." And it's the same idea, like the anxieties that we have, the stresses, or the memories that we have that we are always living up in our heads about. I can't believe I said that stupid thing earlier today. All of that stuff doesn't exist in the moment. In the moment, all you can be is present, and usually when you're present, you're happy. And in that moment, all of the other stuff disappears, and now you can act. If you are sparring with somebody and they hit you, and then you're thinking about, I just got hit, I look dumb, guess what? They're hitting you a second time. So you get hit, and then you need to go, oh, okay, I'm here in this moment now, because now the next punch is coming. You don't have time. And, practice as always is a great metaphor for life. We don't have time to be stuck in that last thing that we messed up on. It is time to move on and be in the next moment, to be right here, present, and act. So meditation is no different. Meditation on some level is just about practicing non-attachment. And when you're in this moment, you cannot be attached to the thought that you just had. And, you know, you can make the decision, I'm going to meditate, and then you might put that off, but you have to actually sit down. Sitting down is the action. And then you're sitting, and then you start thinking, and you're like, I'm supposed to be meditating right now. And then the action to take is not to be stuck on the fact that you're not meditating. You just take the action of going back to the breath. And that's it. And like that's all that life is, and that's all that practice is we just come back to the moment. And the mind wanders, and we come back to the moment. You get punched, and you come back to the moment. And you screw up at work, and you come back to the moment. And you just get to work on whatever it is there to do right now. So, to be decisive, and then to change decision into action. And you're going to mess up sometimes. And I mess up every day. And that is the sign of a life worth living, is that you actually give yourself the opportunity to mess up. And that's how you learn. And then you come back. And it's like I say all the time in class, like this is the sound of learning. When somebody taps you, that's a good thing. And when somebody lands that punch, that's a good thing. In that moment, you learn. And then in the next moment, you're ready for the next one. So, let's sit. And you've already made the decision that you're going to meditate today. The action to take is nothing. Sit totally perfectly still. And clear the mind. When it wanders, come right back to the breath. Sit comfortably.